All right, Rummana, welcome back to the podcast. And we'll get into your look in a little while. Rummana is wearing... Well, why don't you just explain what you're wearing, Rummana? Folks can see you on YouTube, et cetera, and so forth. And so why don't you explain what you're wearing? Go ahead.
Well, I'm wearing a MAGA gag hat. It doesn't say "Make America Great Again." It basically just says "Made you look." Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar means God is great in Arabic, and a lot of Americans associate the word with, oh no, there's somebody's going to set off a bomb after they say it. But if you're Muslim or Arabic speaking, you know that it's just a word that a lot of people say. They just say God is great. It's kind of like a common word. If you go to a mosque, it's part of sermons and stuff like that, and the prayers that we say. So I bought this hat like 2 months ago, and because I saw it on Instagram and I thought it was hilarious. And I was, it's been so depressing, the news, and just everything that's going on in our newsroom at the Sun-Times. And, Mick was kind of talking to me, maybe do something light. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, kind of thinking about the hat. And I haven't, this is the first time I'm wearing it, Ben, because, I know you've talked about wearing hats on camera. I'm not someone who really wears these type of baseball, trucker hats or anything like that. And so, I kind of, my first line in the column, I talk about how, I haven't really worn it yet. I'm not sure, if people from far away are going to see it and freak out because they see me wearing this, Chris did a few minutes ago. But, and then, when you come closer, it'll make some other people angry. And so I thought it was hilarious. So I reached out to the artist who made the hat. He's a young Pakistani American who lives in Maryland. And, he actually, it's really funny. He sounds more like my husband than me. He grew up in a smaller town in Maryland. And, he's like, oh, I grew around Trump supporters. I know Trump supporters, and he's like, I'm not really trying to make fun of them. I'm trying to, he's like, I just thought it would be funny because this is it's kind of more, he was really smart, and he was saying it's, kind of melding two parts of what he sees in America, his background and, what he's seeing around him. So he kind of took two ideas together and put them together, and his hat's been doing pretty good. And he said, most people who are buying it are non-Muslims, and he's getting people from all over the world asking for the hat. And so, he has a pretty big following at Instagram. So I talked to him, and then I kind of mixed it in with comedy. And of course, I found this woman who's writing a book on Muslim comedy at the University of Chicago. And so, we were chatting, and she's like, I'm just new. I'm new to town. So let's get together after coffee. So I made a friend too while I was at it. So this was kind of it had some serious points in my column, but it was ultimately, it was something that, was supposed to make you laugh. And so I haven't worn the hat yet in public. It was sitting in plastic, and I literally just ripped open the plastic bag right before the show. I wasn't going to wear it, but then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to surprise Ben and just wear it.
Did you ever?
And I saw you, and Chris and I, right before you came on the show, were like, oh, this is going to be great. And you kind of were drinking water, and you spit it out. So
oh my goodness.
Funny. And then, it was perfect because I happened to be wearing a red t-shirt today. So it matches my hat. And so I really thought it was, I thought it would be a funny column, and, nobody else has written about it. And so it kind of worked out. And, being able to get in touch with the artist, and he was open with talking to me about it and stuff. So that's the explanation of my hat, Ben.
Well, it was a funny column. I read the column on Sunday. I ran on the Sunday's paper. Yes, sometimes I still subscribe to your newspaper and get it every day, despite what you're doing to the staff. Shame, shame, shame on the people who run the Sun-Times. That's me speaking, not Rummana. So I read the column, and I thought, oh, it's a pretty funny column. And so I come on the show. My computer was really slow, ladies and gentlemen. Coming on the show was very frustrating. And I popped when the camera finally worked. I see Rummana Hussain in a MAGA hat. And folks, you could see this. I think, Chris, we got to take a picture of this and put it up on Instagram. We're going to put the clip on Instagram too, anyway. In fact, we should put the clip to to illustrate when the show drops. We should put the picture of Rummana in the hat. So, in fact, I'm going to take a picture right now, ladies and gentlemen. Just bear with me as I take a picture on the air of Rummana. Oh, there you go. I got it. Anyway, and the red shirt, she looked so MAGA. And it gets at the heart, really, that MAGA look that Donald Trump cornered, that image that he branded in 2015 and has turned it into the look of his insurrection. And to see somebody who is so not MAGA wearing the MAGA look, and then yet it just is jarring. And
that's
you,
yeah, that's what the artist, when I talk to him, like, when you see him, the kid is like this, kid with long hair. He look, he's brown American like me. And he goes, it, makes people sit there and like scratch their heads when they see me. And he actually went to the inauguration, and he has this whole like other persona. Like, this guy's like a multimedia artist. He does music, he does hip hop, and he does all sorts of things. So he has this like persona where he plays, and he has a Southern accent. So he kind of was throwing people off. And so it's pretty genius what this guy does. And so maybe I'll share his Instagram page with you. So it's like this brown kid, this 29-year-old kid wearing a MAGA hat and, South Asian looking. So, that was part of his whole thing. He said it was kind of like a social experiment when I was first, thinking about the hat. He said he came up with the idea in 2020 and kind of just posted on his Instagram page. And then he said he started selling it actually on the day Trump won in November. And so, yeah, it's like, that's the whole thing. Like, just a brown person like me wearing it. And,
you said something, what the kid said, he wasn't intending to make fun of Trump supporters. And that reminded me of a bit I just saw, a clip I saw, I think it was on Instagram. Just follow me on this one, Rummana, you'll get a kick out of this. So Bill Maher, who we talk about on the show a lot, because I'm trying to figure out if anyone is going to rush to the bulwarks to save democracy. And Bill Maher is a little sketchy in this book. He's always trying to placate MAGA supporters. He's got contempt for liberals, and he really has contempt for the left and trans people. And so he feels compelled to show that he's even-minded in the face of this assault on democracy. Interesting transformation he has undergone in his career. So he's interviewing Don Lemon, the former CNN journalist, and somehow or other they got to their reflections on the Saturday Night Live skit in which Tom Hanks played a Trump supporter. He was wearing the MAGA hat. And when Kenan Thompson's character came to shake his hand, Tom Hanks backed off. Like he wasn't. I thought the joke was that he was afraid Kenan Thompson's character was going to mug him, but you could also read it as he didn't want to touch Kenan Thompson's hand. And so there was a big to-do in MAGA land about how insulting that was, because it strongly suggests that MAGA people are so righteous they don't want to touch the hand of a black person. And MAGA was insulted. And so we go to Bill Maher. And this is Bill Maher, who gained his reputation with a show called Politically Incorrect, which, as the title suggests, shows that as a comedian, anything's open. There are no rules. There are no boundaries. We can insult absolutely anyone. And if you get hurt by it, oh, come on, don't be a snowflake. And here's Bill Maher. Like, he gets real somber with his voice and talks about how unfair that was to MAGA people to suggest that they're racists. And I'm like, what a wimp. I'm sorry. You're free to absolutely insult anyone you want. And if they complain, they're snowflakes. And here you're a little sobbing for your MAGA people. That's so unfair. They're not all racist. No, okay. One of them isn't, all right? But all the racists are MAGA people. And I just like, when you said that thing where the designer of the hat wanted to make sure he wasn't insulting MAGA people by mocking their hat, I'm like, why? Why is this sensitivity about MAGA is literally taking people off the street, putting them on airplanes and sending them back to countries and calling them all rapists. They just arrested a midwife in Texas, claimed she did an abortion. All right. I just saw before we went on the air, this Canadian actress who was in an American Pie movie was detained and sent back to. I mean, MAGA is doing its full MAGA thing. And they're like, yeah, proud about it. You know, Joe Rogan had some Holocaust deniers, some really weird people on his show this last week. And, oh, I'm glad you opened my eyes to this. Elon Musk is insulting literally everyone who ever worked for the federal government. But that one Saturday Night Live sketch where Tom Hanks' character like backed off, oh my God, you've gone too far. And it's Bill Maher. Oh, MAGA. Come on, Rummana, help me out.
I agree. Like, it was really funny when I was talking to this young man and I was like telling him, like, he was telling me how, like, you know, he's not MAGA at all. Like, just because we started talking about our, like, you know, what we believe politically, he's not MAGA at all. He was trying to say that, you know, he lives in a place where, you know, people are feeling disenchanted, and, you know, he was kind of talking. And so he goes like, you know, I'm not, but, you know, at the same time, I think, you know, he's well aware of what MAGA mostly in America, like, you know, what people think it stands for. When people wear MAGA hats, they don't necessarily look like us. So no, I know what you're saying. I agree with you totally, Ben. Some of it's just you know, Bill Maher is like pretty rich, you know what I mean? He gets insulted when you insult him. Like, I don't know if you saw that episode when Bill Burr was on his show and he disagreed with him on like college protests, and it was like, I think people were like, I think Bill Maher thought Bill Burr was going to agree with him because he's like this white guy from Boston. But anyway, it was pretty funny. Like, he doesn't like it when people challenge him in general, and so he thinks he's like the smartest guy in the room, and he doesn't like, I don't know. I used to watch Politically Incorrect. I was a fan. And he's just kind of lost me for like, I think it's been more than 10, 15 years. I'm just like, I can't take it anymore. He's not even funny. And
he's a wimp, man. And Bill Burr made mincemeat out of him. We've talked about this a lot on the show. And Denali, I love you, a dear guest, a dear friend of mine comes on the show, and we have a heated debate about Bill Burr, and she makes a lot of good points. She's not a fan. That said, he's standing up. He's standing up to these guys.
He's definitely. I will take him over Bill Maher any day. He's like he's the more favored Bill between the two Bills.
Oh, you know, God, there's no question. I mean, you can't even compare those two. Maher is such a wimp these days. And when Burr was on the Bill Maher show, I think Chris dropped this a couple times with guests. He made fun of Bill Maher, and there was nothing Bill Maher could do, because you know how Bill Maher like always acts like everything is so easy to solve. People Dennis does a great Bill Maher imitation, Dr. D. I can't do it as well as he people. And oh God, this is all we have to do. And then Bill Burr's like, oh yeah, it's so simple, huh? Why don't you go solve the Ukrainian war? I'm like, Bill Burr, you are funny.
Yeah, it's so funny. And it's funny because, you know, people think of Tom Hanks as this like harmless like actor. He's very safe, and like he's America's favorite actor. And I think that's what made people so upset. They're like, oh, I can't believe. And I haven't even seen this skit, but I read about it. We had at least one letter to the editor talking about how they love Tom Hanks and not anymore. And it's like, okay,
mad.
It's just like some of the stuff that MAGA has done. It's like worse than what Tom Hanks did. So it is pretty funny. Just
oh my goodness, you can't even compare it. And it was a sketch about Black Jeopardy, and Tom Hanks has been on it before, and I'll leave it alone. We'll move on to other things. But that's where my mind went when I said this is just a ripple effect of seeing you in a MAGA hat.
I knew it would prompt conversation, and you know,
it's beautiful, man. It's
take some time to talk about.
We got to get that kid on the podcast. I'd love to have a conversation with him.